So you planted your hops plant in the wrong place. Or you just decided you want to move your hops plant somewhere else. Maybe it got too big, maybe it's not getting enough sun. For whatever reason, you want to dig up and move your hops plant. Hi folks, Max Raphael here from Hops World, and today's tip number 42, how to transplant your hops plant. Let's do it. Hey folks, today's tip number 42 from Hops World, how to transplant a hops plant. So, I'm going to tell you how we're going to do it, and then we're going to go and start digging it up. What we do is we start way out far from the crown, which is the central part of the plant, and start clearing the dirt. We try to use a hand shovel when we can. We do keep with us cutters, okay? And a big shovel. I always get one of these little thin pointy shovels. The other thing I do is I sharpen the actual shovels with a little bench grinder, and they tend to cut through the dirt and soil a little easier. So the trick here is, don't feel bad to get your hands dirty, or get some gloves if you like, but I like to get my hands dirty. So, put my hood down, get ready to sweat a little, and we're going to try to uncover the dirt on top of the plant without breaking the roots as far out as we can. Let's get going with that. So on this part, I use a lot of hand digging and the little small hand shovel, just barely scraping the surface till I find the rhizomes or roots, and then I try to clear them by hand and pull them up out of the dirt without breaking them. And sometimes there's some real deep roots that go straight down. You have to use a shovel to get them out. Okay, so you see that we cleaned all the roots at least a foot, some 2 feet long, away from the crown of the plant. You could even go further if you'd like, but there really is no need to. As long as you keep a lot of these fine roots and the main roots, and you have the crown with all these little nodes ready to burst, you can go and cut all these roots. It's better to cut them. Real important, always clean your tools with alcohol prior to using them on each plant, so you don't spread any fungus or disease. So then we're going to go ahead and cut these now, and other than these roots, when I cut these 6 or 7 big roots, this plant will come out, and we'll take it over where we're going to transplant it. Let's do it. So as you can see, I go around cutting all the roots as far away from the central crown as possible. At times on an older plant, you're definitely going to have to cut some deep roots to go straight into the ground using the shovel. But again, always as far away from the center as possible. So this plant that we're transplanting is only a first-year plant, so it was pretty simple. In this video clip, you can see a third-year plant, what it looks like. So transplanting a third-year plant is a lot more difficult, but with care and patience, you can get the plant all cleaned up, just like this one. So you can just cut the deep roots to go down into the ground below the plant and pull this out. We did manage to get this plant out of the ground in one piece for transplanting. Well, as it turned out, it was real early in the year and we weren't sure where we were going to plant our tea maker plant. So the cool thing about hops, when you dig them out, if you can't plant the plant right away, you can actually store them, believe it or not, in the refrigerator. There's our tea maker, basically in hibernation. As you can see here, we keep our plants, the same with our rhizomes, in an open Ziploc bag, and it creates its own humidity. Now, with a big giant plant like this with roots, I will wrap it with some paper towels and put a few drops of water and keep my eye on it and moisten it if need be. But typically with a rhizome, I wouldn't do that. But as you can see, our plant is sound asleep, and it's been well over a month, folks. We are almost into May here. And this plant's been sitting here in the refrigerator since that day. So we're going to take it out in the field and show you how to plant it. Let's do it. Well, here we are out here in our female hop yard, ready to transplant our tea maker. Now, as I explained, believe it or not, it's been in the refrigerator a long time. So we're going to pull it out of our damp Ziploc. We did put a paper towel around it that we wet occasionally. This thing doesn't look pretty at all, but it's still firm. I still see a note or two here, and I think we will be fine when we transplant her. So you can definitely keep these things in the refrigerator for months. I've kept them for up to 6 months, believe it or not, and I've kept them where they actually started growing when the refrigerator wasn't that cold. So the trick here really is to make a big hole and make this dirt fluffy. I love fluffy soil, okay? And very organic. As you'll see when we make this hole, we're gonna add some, actually what we use, compost from mushrooms, but you can use any kind of manure or type of natural fertilizer to add to your soil, mix your soil as you're doing this. It really helps. So we're gonna get to making the hole, and then we're gonna show you how we actually plant the plant. But she's a beauty, a tea maker. Our tea maker tested 0.4% alpha acid and 8.1% beta acid. But bam, just as we expected, makes a sweet, real nice tea without all the bitterness. All right, and we actually have some new crosses this year. Tea maker with our USDA 19058. We're gonna see what that does. Also tea maker with Rocky. We have some crosses. So let's get making the hole. Okay, so we've zoomed in here to the hole. I've actually gone down over a foot deep. I've tried even to get into the deeper soil that's never been disturbed before. As you can see, our soil already has perlite and plenty of organic material. This is from now on the 4th year of planting here. And regardless, 2 years ago we switched plants. We didn't plant nothing here last year. But we're going to always, I can't help myself, add some kind of compost. So, this is my favorite, mushroom compost. You see that in the bag? Now, we get this straight from the mushroom farm in Brazil, and it's even way better. But what I do here is I don't just put it pure, I mix it in with the surrounding soil and break it up, and I want to get that crumbly feeling. This mushroom compost is really moist, so you want to get it to mix in with the drier, sandy, loamy soil. Even though our plant isn't even going to go down this deep, believe it or not, it's going to be mostly above the ground. I like to give all this extra area for the plant to grow immediately and look for this beautiful, rich soil with our mushroom compost. So, what I do is I take the plant and I set the crown about the height where I want it. Now, the level of the bed is here. I have to get these plants at least to the level of the bed for the crown. And I want these plants to be elevated on a slight mound and never, ever under the drip irrigation. You can go actually between the holes, but I always go just offset to one side or the other and let the drips fall, but real close. I like when I transplant to let some of these smaller, fine roots stick up underneath the drip irrigation so I know they'll get water. So what I do is I backfill the hole. You know, the hole is real deep. If you look, I backfilled it so that when I sit the plant in here, I can push these roots down a little and get the plant at the height that I want it. And then I backfill around the plant. And like I said, the object is, when we're done here, is for this plant to be sticking up in the air on a slight mound. It's real important with hops to have drainage. It's a little low, so I'm going to even pull it up higher. Bury that root. So when the water comes, the rain, it drains mostly off the plant, and this plant will get wet and then drain quickly. I'm going to just slightly cover the crown to protect it if there's sun in the next day or two. And ta-da! Last thing we need to do, water. Every time you ever plant a new plant, add water. So this is how we actually plant a new hops plant. We do this all year round. After the last frost, could be like in March, all the way up till about September or October. You really don't want to do this after October because the plant, if it gets real cold real quick and the ground freezes, you could lose your plant. It's hard to lose a hops plant after it's a year or two old. It's hard to kill hops. It's just a weed. Off to get some water. So there you have it, folks. Just make sure if you're going to dig your hops plants, you do it nice and early in the year. We're in mid-March here in southeast Pennsylvania. We still actually have a possibility of snow coming up next week, but you don't want your plants to start sprouting and then you dig them up and plant them again. They'll definitely be too late this year. You can also dig up your plants at the very end of the season after you prune them and pick the cones. You can transplant them then too. I do that all the time. So I hope you liked our tip. If you liked, put a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and don't miss all of our tips and hints, and don't miss our blog also, folks. Thanks for being with us. Cheers to life.